The silent stalk, the snow-capped pines of the Black Ridge Mountains had always been Eli Carter's sanctuary. For 20 years, he'd hunted these woods, tracking deer, bagging trophy bucks, and outsmarting every creature that dared cross his path. But tonight, as the last sliver of sun dipped below the horizon, the forest felt different. The air hung heavy, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Eli adjusted the strap of his rifle and crunched through the frost-laden underbrush, following the faint trail of hoofprints. A massive stag had been spotted here, its antlers like gnarled branches reaching for the sky. The locals called it Wendigo's Shadow, a name born of campfire tales and whiskey-fueled bravado. Eli scoffed at the superstition. He'd never met a beast he couldn't kill. But as dusk deepened, the rules of the hunt began to shift. The woods went quiet. No owls, no rustling rodents, not even the whisper of wind through the pines. Eli paused, breath fogging in the cold. His flashlight beam cut through the gloom, illuminating skeletal trees and the occasional glint of ice. The hoofprints he'd been following vanished, replaced by something else. A set of tracks too large to be a wolf, too deliberate to be random. Clawed with a stride that spanned 6 feet. Bear, he muttered, though the prints didn't match. Bears hibernated this time of year, and bears didn't walk on 2 legs. A twig snapped behind him. Eli spun, rifle raised, but saw nothing. Just shadows. By midnight, the temperature plummeted. Eli's hands shook as he reloaded his rifle, the cold seeping through his gloves. That's when he saw them, pairs of faint green lights hovering in the trees, Imons, dozens of them, blinking in unison. Reflective eyes, he told himself. Deer, maybe. But deer didn't climb. He fired a warning shot. The echoes died instantly, swallowed by the forest. The eyes didn't flinch. Then came the laughter. It was low, guttural, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the ground and into his bones. Eli's blood turned to ice. He'd heard that laugh once before, years ago, when a wounded mountain lion cornered him in a gully. Predators didn't laugh. This did. Eli ran. Branches clawed at his face as he crashed through the undergrowth, his GPS device blinking. Error in red letters. His cabin was 3 miles northeast, but the trails had twisted into a labyrinth. He stumbled into a clearing and froze. The stag lay before him, its throat torn open, steam still rising from the carcass. Its antlers were shattered, as if smashed by a boulder. But the blood, it wasn't pooling. It was crawling. Thin rivulets snaked across the snow, spelling words in a language Eli didn't recognize. Not a stag, a voice hissed from the trees. Not his voice. Not human. Eli raised his rifle, but the weapon slipped from his numb hands. His breath came in ragged gasps. Above him, the green eyes descended, accompanied by the creak of bending branches. It dropped from the canopy like a spider, all sinew and jagged bone, its limbs too long, its mouth a jagged split across a face that mirrored Eli's own. But twisted. Wrong. You've hunted well, it rasped, its voice a chorus of whispers. Now, be hunted. Eli sprinted, but the creature matched his pace effortlessly, herding him deeper into the woods. It toyed with him, snapping twigs to his left, breathing down his neck, then vanishing. His cabin appeared suddenly, a mirage in the snow. He lunged for the door, but the windows exploded inward, showering him with glass. Inside, the walls were covered in handprints. His handprints. But they glowed faintly, as if years old. You've always been here, the creature purred, materializing in the doorway. You just didn't know it. Eli's memories unraveled. The stag he'd pursued for decades. The hunters who'd vanished in these woods. The way time looped here, a snare for the arrogant. He'd never been the hunter. He was the bait. The creature lunged, and Eli's final scream merged with the laughter of the forest. Epilogue. A month later, a new hunter arrives in Black Ridge, lured by rumors of a legendary stag. The locals warn him, but he laughs, adjusting his rifle. As he steps into the trees, the forest exhales. And far above, something with green eyes and a familiar face begins to stalk.